Derek, John, and Will, and no driving gloves tonight. How are you guys doing?
Hey! Good. How about you, John?
I'm awake.
Whoa. Will's actually here. Holy cow.
Oh,
Well,
I was the only one ready to record last week while you two bozos were gone.
Yeah, I'm going to say we can't really pick on Will. We've all been kind of tardy the last few weeks and that. Maybe this is the night we all get back on track.
Still Will's fault.
Other than the next 2 weeks when I won't be here. Finishing up a project for LS Fest, and we'll be at LS Fest. So if you want to see Big Oak's latest project, guess what? Go to LS Fest.
I watched a video this week, and I can't remember what channel or whatever it was on YouTube, and I doubt if I can pull it up on the computer. Have you seen this thing, Will? I don't know. It's like these guys take their hot rods to this drifting arena, and they can kind of drift it, and this guy shows up in his LS swapped, it's like a 51 Chevy business sedan or something like that. And the catch is he built the car for $1,500, and it's an LS swapped car. He took a Lexus LS 400 and cut the body off of it and dropped the Chevy on top of it. So it's
wait a minute. He done all this for $1,500.
That's what he was saying in the video.
I am calling 100% BS.
Well, it was, what am I thinking? It was 225,000 mile Lexus, which, believe it or not, as we get into our topic for tonight, I just found a 225,000 mile Lexus LS 400, really nice shape, $4,000. So I don't know where this guy got his $1,500 worth of, what do you call it?
Well, even if it had a blowed up motor. All right. Yeah. Well, now you got to go find an LS motor. All right. Well, I mean, a 5.3.
No. You missed his thing. It's an LS swapped Chevy. He put the Chevy on top of a Lexus LS.
I got you.
It has nothing to do with a Chevy V8. It's a 283 cubic inch Lexus thing.
Yeah.
I'm
still calling BS on it.
I kind of felt it was a little BS. I'm trying to see if I can pull the video up from my history, but I don't know how to find history here on YouTube.
Unless he just had a bunch of crap laying around and, he had the Lexus and he had the Chevy and...
No, supposedly this guy's never built a car before in his life.
Yeah. BS.
Yeah, there's history.
I mean, what kind of wheels and tires he's got on it?
Lexus.
The Lexus wheels and tire?
I bet that thing looks stupid.
Here it is. I will...
Bring your own phone. Well, your own real phone.
There's me playing it.
Screenshot a picture of the car and send it to me.
I was just going to copy the link and email it to you, and then I'll...
I kind of want to see it right now. Take a picture of it with your phone and send it to me.
Can't you check email?
Don't we have things to talk about here?
Well, we're talking about it. You keep us entertained, Derek. What's going on in your life?
Absolutely nothing.
Oh, geez, boy, you're exciting, and my computer's going like really, really slow. It's probably because I've got two guys online and hogging all the internet and kids in the other room.
Wow, I thought this was a family-friendly show.
I'm lost.
It's time to get found, John.
Exactly. Hey, I bought a new car.
You did?
You did?
Yeah, ties into our talk tonight, I think, into our topic.
Right. It does.
Yeah.
It wasn't long ago that we bought a car that will fall into our topic.
There we go.
Yeah. Actually, this year, yeah.
Yeah, because that's what's been keeping me busy. We'll just go ahead and kind of say that. There we go. I got the thing muted. What's been keeping me busy is I've been reorganizing everything and want to get rid of my car payments. And as we've talked constantly on this show, John only buys new cars. John needs to buy a used car, and John can't figure out how to do it. Is everybody now watching the LS video?
I still ain't got the email. Sounds like
I got it.
Sounds like you're a spoiled brat to me, John.
At times.
Buying a used car, you know. Hey, how about that?
Whoa, easy there, buddy. The mute button. The mute button.
I'm getting there. Oh, Lord.
Are you watching the video now?
Well, I was going to, but, you know, I thought I had my phone on silent, and apparently I didn't.
No, it's just, and I've kind of been looking, and I kind of said to myself, I want to spend $5,000 or $6,000. I ought to be able to get something for $5,000 or $6,000 that I won't have to work on every day. And it's kind of interesting what you get for $5,000 or $6,000 today. I'm kind of thinking I need to spend $15,000.
Not a lot.
Well,
You just, it's, well, I don't need to go there. You just kind of got to lower your standards a little bit, John. You know? I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
it's, I mean, how much you going to be driving?
I, on average, drive 25,000 miles a year.
All right, so that's, you know,
That's it? Jeez.
that's nothing. I mean, you have a mechanical background. You know how to do maintenance on cars. I mean,
Yeah, but the problem is he doesn't want to do the maintenance on the
well,
cars.
you know, that's part of buying a $5,000 car. I mean, if you want to save some money and not have a car payment and not have a new car sitting in your driveway, you know what? You're going to have to work on it every once in a while. That's just how it is. You want to go buy a brand new house, or you want to go buy an old house and save some money? Guess what? You're going to have to work on that old house. That's just how it goes.
You got to work on new ones, too.
Whoa. Let's not say that buying an old house is cheaper than buying a new house, even with the work you have to do on them. Okay, I pretty much only buy old houses, and yeah, they're not always.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
My first house was built in 1932, so, and the money we put in that place, it was. I will say this: it paid off at the end when we got rid of it, but
It does pay off the end, and I personally, for me, I like living in older homes. I think they're better constructed. This isn't a house podcast. So back to cars.
Yes. Totally confused on that because new homes are just as expensive as old homes because things in new homes are so, excuse me, but half-assed. They fall apart and break real easy.
Exactly.
well, a new well-built home. I'm not talking about a spec house that somebody throws together in 3 months. You know, a nice, well-built custom home. But anyway, back to the car thing. John, you just going to have to learn how to change some spark plugs again and change a blend door motor. Yeah, that'll teach you real quick. Hello.
Yeah.
I think we lost him.
Yeah, I got confused there.
You talked about working on a car, and he just.
I'm good at talking about cars. Now, I guess some of the when I'm looking at and when I do my Google searches or my Auto Trader or Cars or Car Gurus or whatever site you want to choose, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, I always search usually $150 to say $6,000, and it gets me that okay. There's a lot of cars in there. They all have 150,000 miles on them. Plus, trucks are usually 180, 100, or 200,000 miles if you want a truck. Since I'm looking such a wide range, I'm thinking, okay, say I buy an Impala with 145,000 miles on it. What kind of life do I expect out of it? You never see any more for sale for even less money that have 200,000 miles. So if you spend the $5,000 to buy the 145,000 Impala, when does it die? 165,000, where it becomes financially stupid to own. Where, like right now, I'm looking at a Toyota pickup that's on there for 229,000 miles. It's $5,000, $6,000. But you can go and you can find a Toyota pickup then for $3,500 with 300,000 miles. So you know the thing's going to last. There's a market to go to. So do you spend $5,000 and yes, do the maintenance and suffer with the car until you have the catastrophic repair that makes it non-viable to repair, and you go out and spend $5,000 again? Or do you spend a little bit more money and get something that, you buy something with 80,000 miles that you can get to 150,000 miles and then resell off to somebody else?
I found your car right here, John. I found it.
What is it?
A 1999 Subaru Outback.
Good cars.
56,000 miles.
That's low mileage for that.
Very
car.
low mileage for $49.95. There you go.
Actually, that's a hard one to argue. Yes, Subarus have timing belt issues and head gasket issues and things like that, but that comes in at about 100,000. But then that gets to me, okay, it's a 50,000 mile car, but it's 20 years old, so everything else on the car is 20 years old. To me, it's not always about mileage. I put a post up on our Facebook page this week, No Driving Gloves, kind of what you need to do when you're trying to sell a car. First, you need to put a price there. $1234 isn't a price, or you don't need to put only open to trades. Like I said, I want to trade you money, and then you take that money and you go trade it for whatever you want to trade. Just because I don't have the four-wheeler you want, but it doesn't make sense to me.
See, I think you'd be better off kind of going back old school a little bit. Say, a square body Chevy pickup truck, or a Buick Regal, a G-body.
Will, have you priced square body Chevy trucks?
Yeah, you can buy a decent one for $5,000. It may be a long wheelbase, but
Well,
I think I think he needs to go back to the cars that are easy to work on, and not a lot of things that can go horribly wrong. I mean, a late 20s, early 30s sedan would be perfect.
There you go. What about a Volkswagen Beetle?
Oh, good cars.
I mean,
I've looked at I've seen a couple online, and I have to say Zara's kind of for that one.
Here's a convertible. No, it's not. It's a coupe. My bad.
I say there's no way you're getting a convertible, whether or not it's a flat windshield or a bay windshield type thing.
This is an 07. 62,000 miles for $4,700.
That is a solid looking Subaru, man.
I'm telling you, that thing looks good, don't it?
Oh, you must have texted that.
I did. I sent you the.
It's automatic though. Well, that's out of the question.
Hey, what about something that maybe has a little damage that you can repair?
Why repair it? Drive it as is. Is it damage that it does not permit the vehicle to drive?
No, here's a hell of a deal on a 2005 Chevy Silverado two-wheel drive regular cab. It's got 66,300 miles, got a little damage to the bed, $5,000.
And by a little damage to the bed, what do you mean?
Behind the rear tire on the driver's side, it's got a pretty good little dent. But it don't have a busted tail light or nothing like that.
Oh, shoot, that's a good buy.
And it's a V8, so it's LS powered. It'll run forever. It's already LS swap. What else could you ask for?
I kind of looked at a $3,500 2000 Dakota V8 that had a dented bumper and a dented tailgate.
There you go.
And those are the things that you also got to think about when you're looking at these. Now, the bedside on that truck, that's going to be a little more difficult to fix. That's either trying to get somebody to, actually do the body work to get it worked out and smoothed out and repainted, or you're replacing a partial or full bedside, depending on how badly damaged that bedside is. But, in the case of that Dodge Dakota, John, I mean, I think, you got to think if it's just a damaged tailgate and bumper, I mean, you run to a pick apart junkyard and I mean, you're going to spend maybe a couple $100 getting those parts and, good parts. Hopefully you'll find the ones that are the same color, body color and everything. But, I don't remember what you said the price was on that. We've been throwing so many prices out right now. I mean, you find something like that with some parts that, if they're dented and damaged that are easily replaced, you take off and replace it. I mean, to me, that's where you find your good deals. You don't, if you can drive around the truck that Will found with the bedside damage, that's one thing, but if it's something that's easily replaceable, I mean, that's the way to go, in my opinion.
You see the trend here, John? It's going to involve a little bit of work.
I guess I look at some of that stuff, and I was looking last night. It might have been on Facebook Marketplace, and came across, and of course, I kind of go. I remember, I feel like the 1980s were yesterday, so I came across a 1990 Mazda B2000 two-wheel drive truck, which I lusted after in high school and at that time. They were great to slam. They were easy to lower. Yeah, Derek and I had a dinner the other night, and I kind of showed him how I got on my car liking with a pink Targa top S10. But $4,500. It's a 56,000 mile truck. It's like 4 miles from my house. It doesn't have rust on it. I mean, I'm trying to convince myself, is that something that you could buy and get away with? And it's going to be easy to repair. I think these were fuel injected by then. So where's the scary point? At what mileage do you avoid cars anymore? I'm still stuck in that. Like I say, I grew up in the 80s. You didn't buy anything with more than 100,000 miles in the 80s.
Dude, that's so far gone. All right, you look at it.
Yeah, that's like that's the 1980s. I mean, it's the left in the 1980s.
I mean, you buy a car with around 100 on it, you got 4 years out of that. You're going to get 4 years out of that vehicle pretty easy, John. I mean, you get to the 200,000 mile mark and, unserviceable ball joints and things like that, you're going to have to start replacing. And I think the engine and transmission in most cars from, I'm going to say 2000 and whatever up, where, good fuel injection started coming into play and good overdrive electronic shift transmissions and stuff like that, you're going to get 250, 300,000 miles out of most engine and transmission combos. Yeah, you may have to replace a upper control arm bushing or, something like that, which nowadays you don't even replace the bushings. You just buy a new upper control arm and bolt it on and take it to the front end shop. So the worst thing about newer cars is the electronics. You can chase electronic problems. And blend door motors will drive you completely insane. So, I mean, it's really not major stuff you're looking at replacing when you have to work on it, period. So, I would try to stay around the 100,000 mile mark. You get 4 years out of it. So, I mean, you're looking at $1,250 a year to drive a car. Plus, all right, say $1,500 a year. That includes some maintenance here and there.
And that's kind of why I'm in what I'm thinking, because not that they quite total that, but that's like car payments every month.
I'm saying $1,500 a year.
What?
Yeah.
That's $125 a month.
I'm not familiar with that. I don't know if I don't know if I've spent that little on a car since In 88, I got my Omni 024. My car payment was $100 a month. And I know my CRX was $158 a month in 1989 or 90. So, yeah, it's probably been, what is that, 30 years? Since I had a car payment that low or that little I spent per month on a car.
There you go.
Well, with the exception...
Well, see, and you still think it's the 1980s, so, I mean, that's exactly the car payment you need to have.
Say I did have that 80 Ford Courier with the Buick 231 in it that I paid $450 for, and I drove it for about 6 months. So I guess other than that, I've always spent more than $125 a month on a car, and that's my whole problem is I've always spent that, and I'm sitting here kind of opening up and being a little bit more personal than I normally am with the listeners and letting you guys lecture me because you know a lot more about this topic, and I know very little, and I'm trying to wrap my head around, some of this stuff and to kind of figure out, what I want. And
I think you're being a bit of a classist there, John. I mean, you're all like, "Oh, you guys are poor. You guys know about owning used cars. I've been only buying new cars all my life." I think you just put us down, Will.
I have never bought me personally a brand new vehicle. Now, my wife has had a few, and we buy new vehicles through the shop. But as far as what Will Posey drives, no. One reason, I don't really like the new cars, just plain and simple there. I mean, all the new cars look the same. They have no personality. They're I'm not going to say they're garbage because obviously they're good vehicles, but I mean, I drive a 1997 Tahoe, two-door Tahoe every day that I just bought like a year and a half ago. I don't know. I think older cars have a little more style than newer cars have, and you can personalize them a little bit easier, and parts aren't that expensive, and I don't know. That's just me.
Well, but I think you have to understand too what we were talking about earlier is, for those of us that are mechanically inclined and can work on cars and can maintain them and do the work that needs to be done, especially if you're going to have an even older used car than say the 90s. Like I've got the 61 Ford Falcon, and normally I use that as a daily driver until, obviously I had the oil pressure issue with it. So, I had to stop driving it, move to Kentucky, yada, yada, yada. It's almost ready to become a daily driver again. We're getting very close to having everything sorted out. But I've been doing the work on that myself, and it doesn't cost me a ton of money to take that to a shop and have somebody work on it. But that's where you also get the balance of, if you buy a new car or let's call this, the certified pre-owned cars. The truck I just bought is probably the closest thing to a brand new vehicle I've ever had in my life. It's a year old. Those come, part of spending that much money on that new car is they come with that warranty that covers the work and any issues that vehicle might have over whatever the period of that warranty is. So, when you buy a newer car, for people who are out there buying the newer cars that can afford that, they're doing it because they don't have necessarily the time or the knowledge or the ability, there we go, to maintain a used vehicle. So that figures into it as well. If everybody could maintain a used vehicle, keep it running and do the work that needed to be done on it, used vehicles would probably be a little more expensive than they are today. They would hold a better value. And in my opinion, that's what I think.
I'm trying to figure out and wrap my head around, and I kind of like what Will's saying, and I totally understand what Will's saying, and it goes back to, say, the 90 Mazda B2000 that I referred to. It's something that's simple, it's something that's older, it's something that I like, and it's something that, to be honest, is easy to work on, and I've worked on them before. I've thrown around, if I'm going to spend 4 or 5 grand, I can get a pretty decent CRX. And anybody who's listened to more than 3 episodes of this podcast knows how I feel about CRXs. Some of what, Derek says is kind of what I like. I think the biggest thing is when I run a very tight, busy schedule. If Will's car doesn't start or his Tahoe doesn't start, his wife can drive him to work or somebody will come pick him up or whatever. I don't necessarily have that option. That's kind of why I like the newer stuff. And I've always bought the new stuff and absorbed the depreciation. And yes, I'll sit here as somebody who's done it quite often. Buying brand new cars is the absolute stupidest thing you can do. My ex-girlfriend, when we got her the car she had, we looked at brand new and we ended up going to CarMax and buying the exact same car with 3,000 miles on it for, $7 grand less than the brand new car. And I think she still happily has that car. I just need that reassurance. And one thing I threw out to Zara is, what if I bought like a $3,000 or $4,000 Toyota pickup? I mean, I think I came across a 92 or 95 Toyota pickup for like $3 grand. Looked to be pretty good, decent body. Supposedly ran and drove. I never went and looked at it. And then I said, I spend $3 grand and I buy a Miata. Then I have 2 cars. I have my $5,000 or $6,000 spent, but if one doesn't start in the morning, I've got another one. Is that a stupid idea to have the spare? You have to go back to probably 2000, I think, is the last time I didn't have 3 cars in the driveway. I've always had a spare, so if something went to the shop, there's something for me and the wife or me and the girlfriend to drive or things like that. And it did become excessive at one point, and I had 13 cars, and never going to do that one again either. That just for all you collectors out there, that's the stupidest thing you can do. So I don't know. You guys have kind of pointed me in a little bit of that direction, and I know what I need to do. I was just seeing if you give me some advice or.
Well, I think you brought up an interesting car that we hadn't talked about yet, which is the Miata. We have a mutual friend that has a Miata. That's he bought it. Same thing you're doing, John. Cutting back on bills, and actually he's never owned kind of like Will and myself. He's never owned a truly brand new car. I mean, most of the cars he drives are antique cars, and he drives them back and forth to wherever he goes. But occasionally, especially living in a northern state in Michigan, he needs a car that he can drive in the winter. And he started looking around, didn't want to spend a lot of money on a car, and he wound up buying a Miata. Yeah, it has some condition issues. The paint's flaking off of it. There's some rust on it, and it's also a northern, vehicle from Michigan, so it's experienced some salt in its life, things like that. I mean, the thing's given him very few problems, and yes, he has the knowledge to pull it into his shop and fix it when he needs to. But they're just great little cars, and they run, it seems like, forever. There's even another vehicle that you can usually find for that, 4,000 to 5,000 mark. I don't remember the I think it was maybe just over 100,000 miles when he bought it, maybe just under, but let's call it right around that. I mean, he's driven it back and forth to visit me here in Kentucky. He drives it, back to the East Coast where he grew up. I mean, it just drives it all over the place. So, I mean, these cars are out there, but again, going back to the root of the discussion, and I think where we started this, giving you a hard time, John, is, if you're going to buy one of these used cars, you just got to be ready to do a little bit of work on it, or pay somebody to do a little bit of the work on it, which usually winds up costing you more in the long run.
Yeah, I'll say with the Miata, I've seen many Miatas in that 300,000 and 400,000 mile range. And like I said, that's because some of the research that I'm doing and some of the dilemma and why I kind of brought up, hey, I want to talk about this with you guys. That's one of those cars I can get online and it's $3,000 or $5,000 with 130,000 miles on. And then you come across one that's got 200,000 miles and it's only $1,000 less than what, and they seem to last. And there's that ability to sell them on in the future. and I've kind of said for years that it's probably the best used car out there, other than the fact it has no trunk space and no people space. And I didn't
that can be a good thing.
I didn't realize that this mutual friend, I know who you're talking about, actually had one of those. I'm kind of laughing in my head that he has one of those.
If you're trying to save money, that's less crap you can buy when you go to the store, and you don't have to worry about taking anybody out to lunch. They got to drive.
Well, and here's the other thing. That you were talking about getting that Toyota truck. You know what happens when you buy any truck, whether it's used or new? You become everybody's best friend that needs to move something.
That's right.
I say you forget I live in Alabama. Just about everybody I know has a truck. So, and I couldn't do that with that Mazda because it's such a clean truck. It's not like buying a $1,000 hard body or a $4,000 Ranger, which that's another one that puzzles me. How the hell are Rangers $5,000 and $6,000 and $7,000 with 200,000 miles on them and 20 years old?
Because Ford Rangers have a cult following.
Because it's a Mazda, and it'll last longer.
Actually, Mazdas were Fords in the end.
Well, you know.
It's a Forza.
Well, I don't know if we've accomplished anything there. I keep seeing various things, and we'll see what I do.
I mean, the new, to me, used car I bought, I got in that $3,000 to $6,000 price range, and I mean, it just needs a little bit of work, but it'll be back on the road probably this fall, and I'll be driving it back and forth to work and just enjoying it. So, but again, I just accept that it needs a little work.
I think that's what you need to do, John. You need to find like an old Ford Pinto or a little Falcon or a Vega or a Maverick.
I'll sell you my Falcon.
See, there you go. I think that's what you need. You need something old that's a daily driver. I'll sell you a vintage air kit for it. You can put air conditioning in it. And then you'll
Whoa, come on. Vintage air? What's wrong with you?
Listen, we're talking to John here. Not me and you, Derek. We're talking about John.
Oh, okay.
We know how to roll the windows down manually and adjust the seat manually. I don't know if John knows how to do that.
You know what's cool about the Falcon is it's still got the vent windows. So you flip those bad boys all the way around, get that breeze coming in.
That's your air conditioner right there. Mm-hmm. So,
yep.
Chris and I drove my dad's T-Bird back from Louisville after the Street Rod Nationals, and it's got good cold air. Now, windows down, vent windows kicked open, cruising 80 mile an hour down the interstate.
I'm trying to remember. It's one of the reasons I always like my old Isuzu pickup. Where we go back to 1991, is it had the vent windows and
the pickups.
Hey, I'm sorry. I like my mini trucks. Let's say as we all started to log on and get together tonight, I was sitting here looking at an 03 Ford Ranger. I think it was the I can't remember, XLT or whatever. With done up to look like a Harley Davidson truck that was lowered and everything, and then turbocharged on the 5.4 liter Triton motor, which sounded like a maintenance nightmare to me. But I like my trucks. I like my lowered trucks.
Yep, me too. I'm the same way. I like trucks and I like them lowered.
I like my touring cars.
Well, I'm gonna jump ship here because you guys have picked on me enough tonight. We'll get back to this in a week or two, or when Will's back, he's going to ask, what did I decide to do?
Oh, we'll definitely do the follow-up.
Yeah, well, this will be an ongoing thing. I'm sure this is going to take me a few weeks to resolve in my head and end up telling everybody that I ended up buying something a little bit newer. But with that, I'm out of here, guys.
Later.
We are done. See you later.